For years, the accepted belief was simple. The Allied victory in the Battle of the Bulge appeared to prove that unity, discipline, and mutual respect had finally bound Britain and America into an effective fighting partnership. The reality was more fragile. In January 1945, a single press conference nearly tore that alliance apart. It forced Dwight D. Eisenhower to decide whether military victory mattered more than national pride. The German Ardennes Offensive had just been halted. Hitler's last major gamble in the West had failed at a cost neither side could afford. American units absorbed the initial shock, held critical positions, and blunted the momentum of the Wehrmacht's final offensive push. The front stabilized, but the war in Western Europe was far from over. Then, Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery stepped in front of microphones. What should have been a routine briefing became something else entirely. Within minutes, words spoken with confidence ignited a crisis no German division could have achieved. The danger was no longer on the battlefield, it was inside the alliance itself. By the start of 1945, the Anglo-American coalition had endured more than 3 years of difficult cooperation. British and American forces had fought together in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, and France. Outwardly, the partnership appeared solid. Beneath it, tensions simmered. Different military traditions, different strategic instincts, deeply rooted national pride. No one embodied those tensions more completely than Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery. Methodical and self-assured, he had delivered Britain its first decisive land victory over Germany at El Alamein in 1942. During the Normandy campaign, he exercised overall coordination of Allied ground forces in its early phases while commanding the 21st Army Group. His confidence was absolute, his belief in his own judgment unshakable. Montgomery never concealed his opinion of American commanders. He viewed them as aggressive but undisciplined, overly reliant on numbers and firepower. His deliberate, tightly controlled style clashed with the more flexible American approach to warfare. General Omar Bradley, commander of the 12th Army Group, found Montgomery insufferably arrogant. General George Patton despised him outright, privately dismissing him as a self-promoting showman. Between them stood Eisenhower. Dwight D. Eisenhower was not Europe's finest battlefield tactician. That was never his role. His strength lay in command balance. He managed egos, aligned national interests, and held together a coalition that could fracture under ambition and resentment. He understood that defeating Germany required political discipline as much as military skill. The Battle of the Bulge pushed that balance to the limit. On December 16, 1944, German forces struck thinly held American lines in the Ardennes. The surprise attack created a deep penetration that threatened to split Allied armies. Eisenhower responded with a decision that was tactically sound and politically dangerous. To simplify command on the northern shoulder of the Bulge, he temporarily placed the American 1st and 9th Armies under Montgomery's operational control. Militarily, the decision was practical. Politically, it cut deep. American forces had absorbed the full weight of the German assault. Now, even briefly, they answered to a British field marshal. Montgomery did play a meaningful role. British 10th Corps moved into blocking positions north of the penetration. British reserves were committed to prevent further German expansion. Coordination on the northern flank improved, but the battle's decisive actions occurred elsewhere. American divisions held critical road junctions at St. Vith and Bastogne. They endured repeated armored assaults, fought while surrounded, and denied the Germans operational breakthroughs. Patton's Third Army executed a rapid northward pivot, relieving Bastogne and shattering the German timetable. By early January, the offensive was spent. German forces withdrew to shortened lines. The cost was severe. More than 80,000 American casualties, including roughly 19,000 dead. German losses approached 100,000, with no reserves left to replace them. The alliance had endured the battle. Its unity had not. On January 5th, Montgomery met Eisenhower at Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force near Versailles. The conversation remained civil, but the divide was unmistakable. Montgomery proposed a single concentrated thrust into Germany under one ground commander. He meant himself. Eisenhower refused. Political reality required shared command and shared credit. 2 days later, Montgomery addressed the press at his tactical headquarters in Zonhoven, Belgium. His words would echo far beyond the room. He spoke of using the full strength of the British Army Group to stabilize the American situation in the Ardennes. He described restoring order and reorganizing defenses. The implication was clear. British control imposed discipline on American disorder. British newspapers celebrated the narrative. The BBC reinforced it. Within hours, American liaison officers warned headquarters that Allied unity was unraveling. By January 8th, American newspapers responded with fury. Editorials condemned the slight against American soldiers. Isolationist politicians seized the moment. Veterans organizations demanded accountability. The crisis deepened on January 9th. Montgomery's remarks were interpreted as personal criticism of Generals Omar Bradley, Courtney Hodges, and William Simpson. Bradley appeared indecisive, Hodges overwhelmed, Simpson nearly erased from the story. Bradley reached his limit. On January 10th, he informed Eisenhower that he would request relief rather than continue serving under Montgomery's authority. This was not posturing. If Bradley left, others would follow. Patton reacted with fury. He told his staff that if Montgomery retained authority over American forces, violence would follow. Behind the bluster lay a deeper truth. American confidence in the alliance was collapsing. Winston Churchill recognized the danger immediately. On January 11th, he sent a private message to Montgomery urging restraint. Britain needed American trust to win the war and shape the peace. Montgomery's response made matters worse. He expressed regret that American feelings had been hurt. To Bradley, it read as condescension. The fault, it implied, lay with American sensitivity. By January 12th, Eisenhower faced the gravest crisis of his command. British leaders urged moderation. American commanders demanded defense. German forces still occupied Allied territory. No option was clean. Then came another warning. German propaganda seized the controversy. Joseph Goebbels framed the dispute as evidence of Allied collapse. Each day the crisis continued, strengthened Berlin's narrative. On January 14th, Eisenhower received word from Washington. Army Chief of Staff George Marshall warned that members of Congress were asking questions. Isolationist senators were watching closely. Marshall issued no order. He did not need to. That evening, Eisenhower gathered his advisors. Some urged confrontation, others pressed diplomacy. One proposed a formal statement establishing the record. Eisenhower decided. He would defend American soldiers without attacking Montgomery by name. He would establish the facts. He would reassert his authority. On January 15th, he drafted the statement himself. Every line mattered. He opened by noting that recent press coverage had created misunderstandings. He then outlined the battle sequence. American forces began resisting immediately on December 16th. He detailed the stands at Vith and Bastogne. He described Patton's rapid maneuver to relieve the siege. Only then did he address Montgomery. British forces had contributed valuably on the northern flank. They had not borne the primary burden. Eisenhower clarified command arrangements. The 1st and 9th Armies were placed under Montgomery temporarily for tactical convenience. American leadership had not failed. Bradley remained responsible for American operations. Then came the warning. Victory required unity and mutual respect. Any commander unwilling to cooperate would be relieved. On January 16th, the statement was distributed and released to the press. Personal copies went to Roosevelt, Churchill, and Montgomery. The reaction was immediate. American newspapers praised Eisenhower's firmness. Bradley thanked him. Patton approved. British reaction was restrained. Churchill worked quietly to redirect coverage toward unity. On January 18th, Montgomery sent messages praising American performance. On January 20th, he met Bradley in Luxembourg. The apology was accepted. The trust was not restored. The alliance endured. Eisenhower's handling of the crisis became a defining example of coalition command. The war continued. Montgomery accepted German surrender in northern Germany on May 4, 1945. The lesson endured. When NATO formed in 1949, its command structure reflected what had nearly been lost in January 1945. Unity before ego. And sometimes, the most dangerous battles are not fought with weapons, but with words.